Right, set. Well, here we go. So we'll push over to Jack. I'm going to let you introduce when you did your BA and MA, but welcome, Jack. And I don't know, it's up to you, half an hour, whatever you want, 40 minutes.
I'll just steamroll through it and what will be, will be.
Okay. And then you can share the screen there.
Oh, cool.
And dive into it.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Oh. How did we get rid of it? It's just behind. There you go. Thanks, Jack.
Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So, my name is Jack Florish, and this is my artist talk. I'm best described as an artist who uses technology. I like to use technology in a kind of semi-autobiographical approach. So, if I was to use it, I want it to tell something about myself personally. My work is also participatory, so I kind of don't want people just looking at it. I want them to kind of be involved with it, but it also has to have a firm concept behind it, as I will show you throughout this. So when I started, I had absolutely no interest in art. I was told I was no good at it. I was better at math. And I was no good at school because I just didn't turn up. So I couldn't draw or paint traditionally. So I just thought it wasn't for me. However, this changed because once I helped my sister out during a photo shoot for one of her A-levels. She could paint and draw very, very, very well. She actually went and got 4 A stars in A-levels, whereas I only got half an A-level in media. But I thought, I like this photo shoot malarkey, I'm going to start doing it. So I thought, let's do photography. I decided to join a BTEC photography course. I couldn't paint or draw, so I thought, let's give it a go. They put me on a BA honours degree for some reason, and I thought that was good, I'll do that then. So they thought I was really good. I thought it was all right. So I thought, holy shit, I'm on a degree. I thought, what can I do? I chose photography simply because someone told me I'd be good at it. And I wasn't really into art. I thought, I need to really get into this. And at the time, my childhood was a bit traumatic because, well, I didn't know where it started and finished it, really. So I thought, I'll go to the one gallery that does photography. So I went to the photographer's gallery, and all of a sudden I saw photography in a way which was different. I could really experiment with photography. This is actually the only photo I could find of it, because this was before the redesign, and they kind of want you to forget that there was a gallery before 2012. Oh, yeah. So, but basically everyone there was starting to kind of cut up photos, they crinkled, and I thought, this is great. You're able to see emotionally what the artist invested into the image, rather than it just being a document. So I found photography, and I thought, I've really liked technology. I'm going to start messing around with a fax machine. Obviously, I didn't know what any of it meant. I just thought, this sounds good. I heard you could do it, so I went and did it. So this was from my first year. I didn't actually think of the idea of a fax machine. One of my inner critiques, someone else said they were doing it, and I went up to them and said, can I do it as well? And then when I showed this during the critique, they actually complained I stole their idea, even though I asked them. So, but it was basically the first thing in my life that I kind of was exposed to was Dagenham. And so I thought I'd just have to kind of have Dagenham in the way I see it, and people like Dagenham, that's fine, but I don't. So it's just like, to me, it's just a dark and gum place where I happened to find myself when I was born. So that's all I could really see from it. But this moved on to different things. I suddenly began to realise that my photography, I went about it a different way. So other people, they just want to take pictures, and there's just, oh look, there's a tree. But we've all seen trees. You can see trees with your own eyes. I just wanted to make something different. So I've spent more and more less time concerned with what photographers, which I concerned was the hunt. As a photographer, you go to hunt. You want to find something that you're unaware of. Yeah. But I was too aware of everything already that was in my brain. So I wanted to kind of, obviously you could tell I can't draw, but I still did it anyway. And I wanted to kind of plan images. So this is actually from I Do Not Want to Become Him. And I just wanted to say, this is the concept.
Is this on the BA cat?
Yes, this was on the BA photography. So this is the formulation of my kind of approach. But I kind of thought I want to plan it more. I'm not bothered with the hunt. I'm not trying to find things. I'm trying to express things. So, which went down like a lead balloon in photography critiques, but there you go. So I began the hunt started to mix with the concept. So I was very unhappy at the time, and I just thought, how can I kind of put that onto people? So I began this looks a bit mental, but I kind of went and saw people, and I was very anxious, very depressed at the time. And although it's kind of very teenagery at the time, this was the best way I could kind of express myself. So I just cut people's eyes out because I didn't want them to look at me a certain way. Obviously, when you're that age, you're too concerned with how people think of you. So I just thought everything to me was just like how I formulated what I was in Dagenham. I couldn't really see any other approach. I was anxious. I didn't like to go outside because 5 out of 10 times probably someone would try mugging me. There was loads of people that used to go around kicking the shit out of you, which was fun. Sometimes I'd be the one, but apart from that, it's just this is how I kind of felt, and obviously this is where my approach changed into something that was more about what I was trying to tell people. So I was always trying to tell people, yeah, I'm an introvert, how can I tell people? So this is how I did it. And then I started dismissing photography. I felt photography was lacking something. All of a sudden, I wasn't as cutting edge as I thought I was. Although, because in the 70s, 80s and 90s, people had already been doing this. And I thought, where does that leave me? Where does that leave me as a personality? My personality is not getting shown as an artist. I'm just doing what everyone else is doing. And I was in like the whole Barking and Dagenham College thing, thinking, this is it. This is going to be easy. Because they're not doing it and I am, means I'm exceptional. But I'm not exceptional because, well, it's no different to what anyone else is doing.
So you started looking further.
Yeah, and started re-evaluating myself. It's almost like I got to a point every time, and I thought I need to just not kill myself, but kill myself artistically to actually get what I want. And what you'll probably find in your careers is you'll look around and think, oh crap, people are either better than me, which is a good thing because then you can match them or succeed them, and then they can match you and succeed, and then it's like that and over. Or you'll just look around and think, I'm no longer relevant to myself, but that's a good thing. That means you're then gonna become relevant by doing something new.
It's that internal critical voice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that voice in the back of your head. It's never going to be good enough as an artist. Will always feel like you're not good enough, which is good because then you'll do something better. You are good enough as a person, but as an artist, you're not supposed to be good enough. So I began exploring other mediums and sources, which led me to, I went to Venice one year in search of these new sources, and I got a phone call from my sister saying, you got an envelope from Poland. And I was like, why have I got an envelope from Poland? And this kind of exposed me in a kind of way that I wasn't comfortable with. All of a sudden there was a guy from a Polish prison. He read a magazine that I was featured in, and he sent me a letter. And he sent me saying that I've given him hope. And this is probably, in my eyes, the best thing that I did up until that point, and I hadn't even created it. And that was simply because I'd extinguished photography. I was on the way to not extinguishing photography, because all those elements are still there, but having a part of myself change into the artist I wanted to be. So basically, although he's saying, in a way, this is kind of representative because he's saying I've given him so much hope, but it's kind of like I feel guilty because I didn't reply, but I didn't reply because, in a way, I kind of had to. The thing that gave him hope no longer gave me hope. So although he's in prison, he's in jail. I should have replied basically, because it's what you do as a human being. But back then I was actually scared he'd have where he got my address.
I'm thinking though about the hunt or the kind of casting. So in a sense, he's cast out to go.
Yes,
but
the huntsman first. That's
but
interesting.
You didn't bite, so that's fine. You didn't want to be captured.
Yeah.
So the fact that you didn't answer that is fine, I think. I'd let yourself off.
But then again, there's another thing with me that I won't allow myself to kind of be forgiven for is when you can help someone, you should help someone.
You'd already done that.
Yeah, but I could, maybe that would have, sometimes, which is something I'll probably get into, is when someone reaches out to you, there's a reason behind it, and you should.
Yes.
So that kind of lingers on my soul quite a bit. So.
And I was throwing you off track. Sorry.
No, that's fine. It's this anyone.
Jack, the I didn't want to become that was a series of photographs you showed, which were.
Oh, that's actually.
What was the I didn't want to become in?
That was actually a series of photos that where I didn't want to become my father. So obviously, I thought this is it. This is my template, and I wasn't happy with the template. Obviously.
You're looking at family and Dagenham
as a kind of
whole.
Yeah, I haven't actually showed those photos because I've kind of spoke to my dad again, and I kind of get it more from his side.
Mm.
Not everyone's meant to be kind of the father you want. So obviously, I was casting him in a template, not realising that. Well, I thought he was casting me in a template, but I was also casting him in a template. So it's kind of it's very well, all my work's personal, but I see. I can show you those afterwards as well. But again, the work was too similar. I kind of reverted back to making things that were photographic but not photographic. And what I was searching for was actually not an enter to photography itself, but a kind of beginning to something else. And I was just not there yet, so I couldn't kind of explore what I wanted to explore. So I took on the MA, and that really allowed me kind of experiment with my practice. So I don't know what you guys are doing with the MA at the minute, but what I'd advise is to really just think of a project that's impossible and then do it. Because if you go, I just want to make a drone, because then you'll get the skills to make a drone, and you've made a drone. So as mad as that sounds, you're taking yourself to a place where you have to make it, and you're having to push yourself. When you push yourself as an artist, you're making yourself different to everyone else, but you're also allowing yourself to express yourself in a way that no one else has done. So obviously that's very important, and that's what it allowed me to do on this practice. And that was the first thing in the sign of the change in my art. The second thing was Team Lab, and I don't know if it's actually going to play the video, which is really annoying, but basically, is it? No, it doesn't want to. Damn you. Why? But basically, I'd look these guys up, honestly. Mm-hmm. They kind of changed the game of how I thought about art. Instead of being something that was made to be looked at on a wall, you're experiencing it, and it made me think of the most important times in my life were the stuff I experienced. There was a time where I went to Cambodia, and all of a sudden the policeman comes up to me and he goes, 50 quid for this gun. And I was like, what? He goes, okay, $20 and you can have this gun. And that moment meant more to me. I didn't buy the gun, by the way. It meant more to me, that moment, than all the kind of what I created artistically previously, because one, it was real, and two, I was experiencing it in real life. So that
Team Lab a bit like a game?
Team Lab is a art collective, kind of a company that's headed up by a team that make immersive experiences.
So the only way I can think of immersive experiences is like a game. Is that what they like? No.
No, it's just basically, that's a good idea, you should make that idea. Basically, you go into a room and instead of just looking at stuff on walls, say the lights then go out and it's dark, and you're having to experience something to give you that emotion. So I thought, I like that. I'm going to do some of that. So, I kind of just said what I said with that. So to me, art wasn't right the way I was doing it. I wanted it to be an experience. So the first thing I created on the MA was this little device here. And I went from photography to kind of this ramshackle thing here. And it doesn't look impressive at all, and that's fine. But it's using code and Arduino circuits. I created a device where basically there's a button on the side, you press the button and you wait for the receiver, and then someone picks up on the other line from anywhere in the country. So I was very anxious as a person, and basically sometimes that kept me inside. So that I'm doing this now is quite interesting.
Have you seen James Lovelock's first climate thing?
Well, no, what's that?
So James Lovelock is the guy who sort of started Gaia theory, and so he kind of, I can't remember when, let's say 80s, it might be back further than that, but he made this he kind of was an inventor.
Oh, nice.
He started chaos theory.
Chaos theory, yeah.
Anyways, go to the Science Museum, and he makes all these kind of, so it's that idea of, like you're describing, that kind of making something tangible, but using technology. Honestly, it's amazing.
Yeah, where's that, sorry?
I'm pretty sure it's in the Science Museum. Sorry, you can't hear this.
No, that's fine.
Could people online hear our voice in the room or not?
No.
Right?
Can you hear the people in the room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So Jack, I'd approach this as a viewer and I'd press the button, then would it, by chance, it would put me through to somebody else in Newcastle or somewhere?
Yeah, just anywhere in the UK. Just by random.
By random, and then you could have a conversation.
Yeah.
Are you saying that, looking back at it now, did you make it as a type of, in relation to your own
anxieties,
and then that idea of connection,
yeah,
and these residue sculptural elements? It seems like very important work in a way.
It is very important. So the kind of, I think the look of the work is based on my lack of skill, which is good in a way. But the circuitry I had help with a technician called Leon, and he kind of introduced me to a lot of the digital elements and of art, and he started giving me all these ideas, and suddenly I was exposed to this whole new world. And when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a games developer because I was good at math. But then I got to the code and I was like, what's this about? It's too hard. But now all of a sudden I'm using code and I'm making kind of sculptures. So basically there was this one person who went up to me and had a go at me. He said, I don't like that person you put at the other end of the phone. I go, oh, I'm sorry about that. I'll have a word with him.
But you're not in control of that.
I'm not in control of it at all.
That connection of wanting to talk and communicate. for you as the author, but for us as viewers as well.
Yeah. So.
And what is it randomly generated?
It could be anybody will pick up on the phone.
So from the other end, would it feel like a cold call?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the person
Yeah.
So basically, it represents that first time you meet someone.
Yeah.
So I thought this idea like 2 years before I made it, and it was going. I built all these crap little phones, and it's all of a sudden meeting Leon. I had this idea, and it really gave me. I think it's good to be exposed to things you can't do and you want to do, because then you can bully yourself into doing them. Yeah. That's why I go back into saying ideas that are impossible, because you might not meet it, but you might meet something on the way which is really good, and then all of a sudden people will go, this is different, this is really interesting. So
what I say to myself is I'm doing it in the name of, so I'm doing it in the name of art. So like today I've come up here and I'm doing this in the name of art. So today I'm being, everything I do is in the name of.
But that's kind of like you've got a focal point. So that's really interesting. I think my focal point is keep telling myself, I was speaking about this to a lecturer to Sam, and he says, you should give yourself some credit. And I went, I'm never going to give myself credit, and that's fine, because it keeps allowing me to go to that next level. And I'm not telling you guys not to give yourself credit, because my route has led to a bit of sadness and me not accepting the things around me. But that then goes back to the way I was brought up. You need to, trust me, look around once in a while, because I probably won't, but I kind of think it's important to look around and live in the moment, kind of like what the Buddha says.
It's an incredible success for someone to be so in touch with their internal mechanisms, but to have confidence and doubt, to blend those two things, I think is what you have. But that's cool. Is it called Zero?
Yeah, the reason it's called Zero is because I had zero ideas what to call it. So I think it's also important is the art is, in my methodology, the art should be one thing, although I kind of messed it up on the next project title because I needed to. The art should be one thing and the title should be another. So bizarrely enough, it's like the whole thing with YouTube videos, and they say the title is what gets you there. But I kind of feel the title is what gets people talking about the art, even in a falsehood. So the way that people look at participatory art is their own experience. So it's very important that the title, one, kind of indicates their own experience, and two, kind of gives something for people to theorize on. So like you could have a project, name the description would be one thing. You kind of have to name the project what it is by the description, and the title is to kind of give it more leverage. So already just by having it Zero, people are like, why is it called Zero? And it's got nothing to do with the actual project itself.
It's because of coding, isn't it? Because coding is zeros and ones, is it not?
Yeah, it's all binary code, but
yeah, I quite like it it's got more. It's enigmatic. There's more in there.
But that goes into what I've said about the title. Is basically, although you've not thought about obviously I've told you my definition of the title, but you've told me yours. So I've left the title kind of open to people's kind of participatory on itself.
I mean, Duchamp said it was another colour title, but I took it as Zero in relation to the viewer, the attempt at being on your own and trying to connect with another person or with an art object. You start from often zero.
Yeah, that's quite good.
That's how I was kind of reading it, and due to the kind of the materials you've used, those kind of cheap materials which are delightful.
So I'm kind of glad that worked that time, by the way. But yeah, I did have a video of my mate Jenny trying it. Is that going to work? No, it's not. But I'd found my art again, and basically it was the antithesis of what others are doing. But that's not to kind of go into say that I'm not about what others are doing. It's just to say that my constant need to kind of push myself kind of forward, it's kind of like I'm trying to detach myself, but really I want to be part of something.
Yeah.
And I think a good thing about failure is, which is part of detachment, is you detach yourself. It's one of the things I did when I was younger, is I would detach myself because I was in fear of failing. But failing is the best thing you could do, because if you fail to drive, the car's on fire. But cars on fires are pretty cool to look at. So if you want the car to be on fire and you try driving it, you've still got a successful piece in kind of a way. I know that's a bit of a weird metaphor, but this has led me to my first video game project. So I've kind of come full circle. All of a sudden I was like, year 2, what am I going to do? I'm going to make a video game. And it takes about 3 years to make a video game, to learn how to do it. So I thought, I'm not going to make a perfect video game because this isn't a perfect art piece. It's not supposed to represent purity or perfection, which I'm purely against. It's meant to represent my failure to get a job after graduating from my BA. So I thought, I'm going to make this game as janky and as glitchy as possible. So basically what you do is you pick up that controller, you pick 4 options, and then you pick a course after your art career. So it's actually led to a lot of problems, because I had one of the technicians go, I think we had a conversation between the lecturers because we were scared that you was going to do something dodgy, because in one scene I actually had a bit where you fight a T-Rex with a mace, and they were like, what's that about? And there's another bit which they thought was in a school but was actually in a supermarket, where you go around and all the customers have turned into zombies and you shoot them. And they thought it was a school. I was like, no, it's not a school, it's a supermarket.
Mind you, a supermarket.
So I spent about 8 years of my life my dreams being destroyed by a supermarket, which I can't name for legal reasons.
Oh.
I can, but if this goes out, I don't want to be sued. So, but they regularly basically bled you to the bone, made you work 150,000 steps per weekend, and then to shout at you. And it was not what I wanted to. It just kind of, what that represented to me is what Dagenham, the kind of what people were saying to me in Dagenham. Why that's weird, why it'd be this way. And I found again that although I'd killed the shadow of what people, I'm not dissing people in Dagenham, the majority of people at Dagenham are lovely, I've got a lot of friends there, but there is a kind of shadow upon it as well. And I kind of got rid of that, and then all of a sudden I moved from one kind of hole to another, which was the supermarket where dreams are destroyed. And I regularly saw people just give up on their lives. I thought, what kind of employer does that? So it was kind of like signify, not just for me, but I've got a few people out there just by trying to. I remember I got one guy to go into kitchen design, and he was happy. He really thanked me. And another guy was going to give up on his pilot dreams, and then I told him, no, you don't want to be stuck here. I know that sounds weird, but when you're there, it's kind of like you're kind of in a war against the thing that pays you, but also you hate. So this then becomes your life, where you have to go, and then you're paid to go there to supply your life, but it's not supplying your life. And then when you leave, you're too tired to do anything about it. So it's kind of like a trap.
So was this artwork to do with that?
Yeah, this artwork was basically me saying, look, I had all these dreams, and I just went back to my childhood, and I wanted to be a video game designer, and I want other people to experience this failure. And it's not just me, it's in workplaces. I feel like there's a chain where you go to work, you die, you go to work, you die. That's fine for some people, but I'm not about that life. I want to try and do something. And there's a lot of good people there that are still there, and they're wasting their lives away. They're getting drunk on Fridays, and then they're not happy, and then they're fighting people. And it just, but I got out of that trap, and thanks to the MA, I was able to get a job at UEL, and it's really kind of put me in a better position. And I also formed FUBAR, which is my art collective. So every year we give opportunities to artists who are kind of like not outside of art, but along those lines. So we kind of want to, well, I'm saying this from my opinion, kind of promote different views of art, different personalities art, different forms of art mediums. Whereas if you go ask one of the other two, they'll say something different. But in my opinion, I wanted to give artists an opportunity to be kind of who wouldn't be picked by, because there was a big thing about just having landscape pictures in high-end galleries for a while. And I did not, that's fine if you like landscapes. I like landscapes as well, but that wasn't what I was doing. And I just wanted to give a kind of opportunity. So from the kind of MA, I was given kind of more of a confidence boost to go do that. So we formed FUBAR, which was, and
you had a show, didn't you?
yeah, we've had about 3 shows now. It's really, really popular, thanks to social media.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So there's 3 of you who curate those events and exhibitions.
Yeah, it's really horrible to do. I'm not gonna lie, it's really nice, the end result, and seeing all the artists have opportunities, and it's just getting them to see, getting their art out there. One of them said I hadn't won a competition or anything in 5 years, or even had my work selected.
Yeah.
And I thought,
is there a kind of your approach to it, to search out art which is well beyond and not interested or connected to the mainstream gallery system?
yes and no, because we actually had someone who had a show at the White Cube previously join, and I was like, what? We're like, she's in. That's good exposure. I'm not even gonna lie. It's like, but her work was really good. So it was like.
You do that a couple of times a year or something?
Well, we do it once a year, but it's so taxing. Like we end up like going, oh, we're not doing it next year, and then we end up doing it. But to be honest, from this, although this is great and apply, I'd probably say the main takeaway from this is social media. Honestly, abuse Facebook stories, abuse Instagram stories, and abuse Twitter. Start adding loads of people. You don't even have to post anything. I just add about Monday I had 50 people on Twitter, Tuesday I had 50 people on Facebook, and Wednesday I had 50 people on Instagram, because
what does that do? Tell us a bit.
That just boosts your followers, and it is kind of a bit of an artificial way. But for me, social media, although I do kind of like it, it is mainly just as an artist, it's important to recognise the advertising potential of it as well. So if you then put out a show on mailing lists, you're only getting the same people go to it. But if you're then putting it on a Facebook story or an Instagram story,
I've seen this.
Have you? Really?
Yeah, I follow you, darling. You
Do
didn't
you?
know I did. Yeah,
Oh.
definitely.
Oh yeah, that's part
You
of my.
don't follow me back.
Don't?
No, don't.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw this through social media.
Oh, that's good, because I was just like,
Because you did a little film of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely.
which hopefully, if there's some more people.
Yeah.
These people are pretty cool actually. And is the video going to work? No, the video, but it was actually, yeah. So this is one piece by Jenny. She's fishing for ducks, and then when you get the duck, it says kind of like a mental health message on the bottom of the duck. So that's really interesting. It's just exposing new methods of art, which is cool. And what I'm doing now, well, obviously this goes back into doing the impossible. So I'm going to just build a robot. I'm not going to tell you why, but I just thought, let's build a robot. I'm going to do it. Obviously I sound nuts, but you got to sound crazy, because people are going to be interested when you say this. Like, you'll probably think, what happened to that guy that was going to build a robot? And then you'll be like, oh, he really failed at that, or he really did it. But either way, it's a result. So I just need the funding. So if anyone's got like, no, I'm joking. But yeah, so I'm kind of, the last slide I'm going to show you, I know this has gone on for, it's been quite intricate, this is basically, I decided to conclude for saying what art is for me. So obviously I've got the innovative, I want to constantly innovate, and I want to, it's all based around a concept idea, and I want it to be experienced. But the main thing that I think you guys need to do is kind of put your personality into it, because I think that's the hardest part of an artist, is to, I see artists where you think, oh, their work is rubbish, and then I go look at their personality and I think their work's amazing. So I think that's the kind of the final note I'd say, is try to inject your personality, or if you think you've got no personality, then try to inject non-personality, because that's still a personality, right? You may not think, oh, I'm very interesting, but even if it's like that guy on TikTok that just looks at trains, so boring trains, but he's really interesting because he's so happy about it. So like, just, you are interesting, even if you're boring, and that's fine. Be boring. Boring's cool. Like, although I don't think anyone is boring realistically, but yeah. So I'm just going to end it on that note, I think. So we've got this rather plush. Thank you very much.
You got any questions? I was just thinking, if there is, you said you've got the robot, so someone asked how that's going. But if the space came up, would you put those early sculptural things, the video game, the robot, how would you assemble a group of works? Or is that something?
That's something I haven't really thought about.
Not saying you have to.
That is a good question, yeah.
It's quite the way you're going from one thing to the next and stretching.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, really great to hear. But
how does that fit into kind of the whole picture?
I'm just curious if that's an exciting thing that you want to do or not. You know, the way people, they grab they curate shows, and then you'll be doing an exhibition where there's a number of works in it and they're assembled. It was quite kind of, it's very interesting that you dart in from that, then it goes to this, and it goes to that. And the content is probably the same.
Yeah, that's true.
They're very, very different ways of working.
I think I just kind of feel like, I think I get really, my attention gets really, I'm like, oh, what do I do now? So making the art is actually quite laborious, isn't it, really? So for that coding project, I spent about 4 weeks doing the code and then needing help with it. And it was like, sometimes I feel like halfway through the project, it gets really boring and you just kind of have to go, just got to finish this. And then you're excited about the next idea. It's kind of like a drug. So the next thing. So I'm like, oh, fuck this work. It's fucking boring. I want to go to the fucking next thing. So maybe I'm a bit of a junkie, to be honest.
I think I think you might be, the worst thing that anybody's ever said to me is, are you a surrealist?
What did he say, sir?
The worst
Are you a surrealist?
What, to you, Grenville?
Yeah, it's a real insult.
Yeah. Well,
I've always historically hated surrealism. And then somebody said, as an insult, are you a surrealist?
yeah.
Are you a restless soul? You know, you talk about technology, you talk about everything. If you're restless, then surrealism wasn't really about that. It was kind of a zero attempt to deal with mental and social, political issues. And so some people use it as a. I'm looking at your image now with a question mark picked out. You know, you don't talk about yourself. If you're into maths, then the zero doesn't exist.
I think Jack has talked about himself in that
Yeah,
way
yeah.
very clearly.
But you talked about mathematics quite a lot, Jack.
Oh, that's because when I was growing up, that was the thing I was good at.
Yeah, but
So-
you called it zero. But do you understand that zero doesn't exist? It's just convenient.
The zero for me was like a way of just trying to the attempts at communicating through that word.
Yeah.
I think if you need an anchor, you need to go back to math.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's hard to.
So you've got to go back to
I think that's what the title also does, though. It makes people look at the art in different ways. So I think if that's making you tell me to go back to maths, I think that's a good thing.
Is that having
Right.
a touch? With
That
Yeah.
in terms of art, that might be a good approach. I could look into how to maybe use math in a way to kind of extend my art practice. It's actually a good point.
Yeah.
Touchstone you know, like if you're a navigator, you have the North Star.
Yeah.
So it's like you need a thing that's your thing that you point towards
Yeah.
from time to time. And for you, it might be some aspect of maths.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I get what you kind of mean, Grenville. Now. Yeah. So kind of like there is a kind of a theme of maths throughout the whole kind of. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a thing in string theory and mathematics called malleable concepts.
Oh.
Malleable concepts. If you go to Isaac Newton Institute and talk to any string theorist, all concepts are malleable in all dimensions. That's not the real approach. All numbers, relative symbols, if you like, they're all malleable. They're just symbols. I'm quite interested in you've got a big bucket of question marks here.
Oh yeah. I just I didn't do that. Abby put that. She was like,
Yeah, well, why don't you make a big bucket of question marks?
oh no, this is the stock image. I didn't do that. I was supposed to get rid of it. Sorry. I can see your point because that would indicate that is actually part of the whole artist talk. But yeah, that's a good point. I think yeah, maybe I should get rid of the question mark and stuff.
Jack, thanks very much. We're going to keep rolling.
Thank you guys.
We've got.
I wonder if Can you put mine on, Don?
Yes, of course.
I might just go to it. Is there a toilet? Yeah, it is.
Presentation 1. Let me just. Yeah, I'll sort it out for you. Don't worry.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Right, let's put the presentation on. Right.
It's got the transcript on.
That's good though. That kind of.
I always turn that off, but we could turn it. If you want to turn it off, that'd be great.
Right. Oh. Let me put this on. Can you? Oh, 1 minute.
How can one apply to be part of your art group or exhibiting?
Basically, we put up an open call. We kind of haphazardly go, we should really do something because we're not doing something. Because there's 3 of us, we're all different personalities, so it's quite hard to actually formulate an approach together.
Yeah.
But there should be something maybe, usually we do it in August next year, so towards the start of spring, there'll be...
Just follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, just follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We've got a Facebook group as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Jack will be seeing your show, obviously.
yeah, I'll come along.
Yeah.
Well, what was the group again?
Fubar Collective.
All right then. We'll do this.
Yeah, of course.
Is that all right now, darling? Would you
Yeah,
finish?
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I'm finished. It's
Okay.
great.
Does
Just let's check they can hear us at home.
Can you hear? Oh, do you wanna?
Yeah, I'll just. What do I? Where do I press, darling?
Um,
Yeah, that'll do.